Welcome to this explainer. Today we're unpacking a highly classified, wildly daring military operation that crossed an entire country. It relied on pinpoint accuracy, absolute secrecy, and well, it led to a completely shocking truth right at the very end. One secret mission crossed an entire country, only to discover that the prisoners they came to rescue weren't there. Okay, let's dive right into this unbelievable true story from the Vietnam War. We're going to look at how a single operation can somehow be both a total masterclass in military execution and a completely devastating strategic miss. Part 1, the desperate rescue mission. So picture this. It's November 1970, deep inside North Vietnam at the Son Tay prison camp. Time is literally running out for dozens of American prisoners of war. Intelligence feared these guys could be executed before a rescue could even get off the ground. So how do you pull off the boldest rescue in history before the prisoners are moved or executed? Well, faced with this massive ticking clock, military planners spun up Operation Ivory Coast. They brought together absolute elite personnel from the Air Force and Army Special Forces to attempt what honestly seemed like an impossible task. The plan? Step 1, fly hundreds of miles into totally hostile territory. Step 2, land directly inside the prison compound. Step 3, rescue the American prisoners. And Step 4, escape before retaliation. Sounds simple enough on paper, right? But in reality, it was incredibly dangerous. The whole thing relied entirely on speed, total surprise, and absolute perfection to dodge the enemy forces. Part 2, rehearsing the impossible. The lengths these forces went to guarantee success were just staggering. They knew the margin for error was exactly 0, so they trained in complete secrecy for months. But here's the crazy part. They actually built a full-size replica of the Son Tay prison camp. They recreated every single building, wall, and pathway. Why? So the assault team could run night after night rehearsals. They practiced every single movement repeatedly until every second of the operation was pure muscle memory instinct. Part 3, executing the raid. Fast forward to the night of November 20. Helicopters cross into enemy airspace at an extremely low altitude to duck under radar. Minutes later, the assault teams approach Son Tay under complete darkness. Every passing minute is just cranking up the risk of discovery. But then, seconds later, comes the most unbelievable tactical maneuver of the whole mission. One helicopter intentionally crashes inside the compound. Yeah, you heard that right, intentionally. This was baked into the plan to completely shock the guards with a sudden, violent impact. And within moments, Green Berets are storming the camp with absolute precision. That intentional crash worked like a charm. The firefight was incredibly intense but very brief. Enemy resistance was just immediately overwhelmed as the highly trained teams cleared the buildings, methodically searching every single room and cell for the POWs. Part 4, the empty prison. But amidst all the smoke and the overwhelming tactical success of this breach, as teams cleared those final cells, they realized something was terribly, terribly wrong. The prison was completely empty. Not a single American prisoner was there. Completely unbeknownst to this incredibly brave rescue force that had just risked absolutely everything, the prisoners had actually been moved to another location several months earlier. Which brings us to a really harsh military reality: outdated intelligence. It's when tactical planning and military execution are based on information that is no longer accurate or current. And the results? You get a situation exactly like this. The entire operation, despite flawless execution, was built on an expired foundation. For the soldiers on the ground who trained for months to bring their guys home, what a heartbreaking realization. Part 5, the legacy of failure. So it leaves us with a massive question. How do we judge a mission where the tactical execution was absolutely perfect, but the strategic outcome was a total flop? That's the ultimate paradox of Operation Ivory Coast. Look at the tactical success. Exceptional discipline, eliminated resistance, safely withdrew without heavy losses, and gathered valuable intelligence. Almost everyone came home safe. But then look at the strategic failure. Acted on outdated intelligence, 0 prisoners rescued. A flawless execution with an empty result. Now, why should you care about this today? Well, because this specific failure completely revolutionized modern military strategy. It brutally exposed fatal weaknesses in intelligence sharing. That, in turn, forced major improvements in joint U.S. Army and Air Force planning. Ultimately, the hard lessons learned from those empty cells at Son Tay directly influenced the development of the modern American Special Operations Command. Even today, military academies study this exact raid for its extraordinary planning and leadership under extreme pressure. Let's end on this quote. Courage is measured by the mission, not only by the outcome. Operation Ivory Coast proved exactly what dedicated soldiers can accomplish against literally impossible odds. Sure, they didn't find the prisoners they sought, but their bravery and the lessons they brought back forever changed the future of special ops. So I'll leave you with this thought to chew on. How often do our most devastating failures actually lay the necessary groundwork for our greatest future successes? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope it gave you some really cool insights into an amazing piece of history.